we delve deep into the mind of a real, top-producing real estate media industry veteran. Today, on episode 14 of Real Estate Photography Unlocked.
I'm just trying to get mine, but these agents got me losing my mind. Whatever happened to the good times? Man, forget about it. It's showtime. Let me show you how to get some rest, how to make millions, how to be your best. This is shout out to the REPs, to the shooters, producers, and the newbies. Welcome to our podcast. I'm your rep MC. We're here every week talking real estate photography.
Hello, everyone. Today we have an excellent show for you. Just a bit of warning, this is not going to be a easy, fun episode. So for those of you who don't like to hear real content with real experience and hard truths, go ahead and skip to the next video. But if you guys want to really learn and advance decades in your career in the next hour, this is the podcast for you. And that's because we have an excellent special guest today, Joseph Dono. Welcome to the podcast, Joseph.
Thank you. I really appreciate it so much. It's an honor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to have you on here. And the reason why I'm so happy to have him on here, Joseph, if you'd introduce yourself and some of the things you do for the real estate photography industry.
So my name's Joseph Dono. I've been in the business since 2018. I own Pictures That Sell out here in Tampa Bay, Florida. I also am co-owner of Lux Edits as well. So US-based editing agency. And then I also dabble with coaching, mentoring those who are either been doing it for a while, they kind of got like a plateau, they don't really know where to go, or maybe they're falling out of love with the business, or maybe just it's a little bit of both, right? And then I'm even training professionals on how to shoot real estate media but for profit, right? There's a lot of guys that train people to shoot really lavish properties. I'm training people on how to maximize the time, right? So you can utilize the same thing I teach you and fine tune it and really take it to the next level, or listen to what I'm telling you. You can shoot world-class real estate videos in 25 to 30 minutes. When you take the time on location, time of profit, like I am 10Xing people's incomes, because normally they were shooting videos, and photos 2-3 hours on location. 1 hour photo video floor plan. You can either outsource it or I can show you how to edit it yourself. But either way, it's all about time for profit. Every minute of every second is money on the table. So if you can do the job faster, it's more money. Even if you're not charging what some other industry professionals are charging, $8,000-$9,000 for videos. If you can't charge that, then charge it by your time. Get your time back, right? Because if you can do a job for $600-$700 in 45 minutes, look at your hourly rate. You're making more money because you can service more properties, more agents, cover more ground. And in the long scheme of things, it's way more profitable than spending all day with one agent for $6,000, but that agent may come around 2 or 3 times. So training agents on the spare time, or training videographers on the spare time, showing them how to do that. I have always been a me person, greedy. So it's always been me. But once you hit a point in your career, it's not really me anymore. Now you fall out of love with all the money, right? When you have all the money, you have all the assets, you have, I own my real estate, right? So I don't have a mortgage. I don't have any mortgage. When you find a point in your career where you've hit all the goals, 2 things happen. You either start falling out of love and you start, like me, it's like a gambler, right? A gambler who will gamble. You gamble until you get bored of it, and then you go on to the next thing. Well, that's kind of where I'm at, right? So I've done everything I could in the business, and now I'm like, what else can I do? And now I'm on to the next thing, right? Now I'm owning an editing agency. Quite frankly, it's a roller coaster every day, because I get to experience everybody's struggles, right? This guy doesn't have a big budget. This guy doesn't know how to shoot. So now I'm like teaching people how to shoot, and helping people grow their business. And it's like every day's a new day. It brings back what I loved in the business when I first got into real estate videography. Photography. It's like every day's great, Yeah,
I know how you feel there. And I especially agree with how you're teaching people to work within really their market, because a lot of people get really excited because they see an ad on Facebook or something else, or they see a very well done video out of LA or something. Yes. And they're like, ooh, I want to offer that to my clients. The problem is you live in Alabama, and the budgets are not as large as they are in LA. So if you're spending half a day or multiple days working on a project and you're only charging $200 or $300 for it, you're putting yourself out of business at day one.
Correct.
These are all skills we're going to get to.
Yep.
Before we get to that, let's start with square one.
Yep.
How did Joseph Dono get into real estate? Where were you before this? How did you get to where you are today?
So back in 2004, I was in high school. I did the video production program. And then in 2005, graduated, went into film school. I quickly realized I wanted to be a editor when I entered in, right? And one of my first classes I ever did was a screenwriting class. And this screenwriting professor was like, okay, now look around, look at all these faces, because as you transition from semester to semester, your group is going to get smaller. Those who thought they wanted to do this are going to realize they didn't want to do it. And then those who thought they wanted to do something will end up wanting to do something different. So look around, know who these faces are, who your director is. This guy who wants to be a director is not a threat to you. But if somebody wants to be a director and you want to be a director, that's a problem, because in some cases, only one director per project. So the best one get the job. As a director photographer, I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't even know. I just knew editor, right? When I was in school, I wanted to be an editor. And I started film production year one, week one, day one, wanting to be an editor. About 7 weeks in, I realized I don't really want to be an editor. I want to be a director photographer, because I want to create the images, send it off to an editor, and let them deal with fixing in post. So that went on for about a year. And then I've never been okay with being mediocre. I have an obsessive personality. So when I zone in on something, I will 10x it on a whole nother level. When everybody was pulling their money for housing, I was pulling money, but throwing it into camera equipment. I was getting like 10 grand for student living, but I was living in a car. I was living in a Toyota Matrix, sleeping in a car, showering at the school or gyms, and taking that student money, the government money that they were sending me to school to go live in a dorm or a hotel or
allegedly.
Allegedly.
None of it is on record, of course.
And
you're talking about
coach will take care of that department, but I was putting that money back into camera equipment. I had all the latest, greatest cameras. I had all my own equipment. I didn't want to have to go to the school and say, I want to rent this camera and these lights and this equipment, and then I'm looking and it's not available. I had my own gear. And then professors knew that there was A, I had gear, B, I had talent. So now when I first started, I was looking up to these professors. About a year and a quarter in, I really wasn't looking up to them anymore, because now I was like, this freaking schooling is an anchor, because it's prohibiting me from really making a ton of money, because now I'm worried about school projects, education. When these teachers were putting me, all my professors had me on payroll. I had George Talisic, who was in Florida. He was did music videos all over, right? This guy made 100 grand, 150 grand back then, 2007, 100 grand in the business was like, that was something to brag about. Yeah. This guy made 150, 100 grand a year shooting music videos. Every night it was another music video. And I remember towards the tail end of us working together, it was like a Saturday, I'm pumping gas, and he calls me and he was like, Joe, you're going to shoot this tomorrow. I'm like, what? I mean, yeah, that's what we normally do. And he said, no, it's all you. Direct it, shoot it, everything. He's like, the whole invoice is yours. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm no longer doing it anymore. I'm like, George, like, we got to shoot tomorrow. What do you mean we're not doing it?
Quit. I mean,
George is a Greek Orthodox. So his wife is very big Greek family. He's part Greek, part Colombian, and apparently he's been doing this for 7 years. One day, he may have had an argument with his wife, but the ass shaking, booty shaking, money flying wasn't really the Greeks consider good income.
This is interesting. Just not to interrupt, but if you guys have been listening to my videos, I've been talking about every 5 to 7 years. It's like a force of nature. People switch careers. They switch jobs every 2 or 3 years, switch careers every 5 to 7. There's all sorts of reasons why, but even this man that he's talking about, 7 years. Yep. It's magic. All right.
And the wild thing
continue.
is, I'm like, you woke up today? Like, we just did an All the Way Live music video that was mind-blowingly crazy bad, and I'll actually send you the YouTube video. And the timing on the All the Way Live video might not have been good because that video had already went viral. The song went viral like 18 months before we decided they were going to do a music video, and that music video was really bad. Honestly, almost every music video. There's an artist by the name of Akafool. He too did all his music videos. That content was bad. Everything was bad that they've ever done. But clearly it was a marital situation, which in the moment I did not understand it. And then about a little while later, I did a Justin Bieber music video. And then like 9 months later, I did an artist like Justin Bieber. His name was Berger. It was like kind of like they were coming up at the same time. I remember meeting with Jason Scorch, the producer of The Artist, who produced Justin Bieber and a lot of other big name guys. And I remember seeing him in the studio, and he said, "Joe, I need you to go to the mall and go find me some sexy 16-year-olds." And I was like, "What?" I'm 21 years old.
Did he?
Like, where I'm going to find these ladies at? He said, "Well, go to the mall." So I go to the mall and in search for what he was looking for, and I pretty much got ran out with the moms, like getting ready to beat my ass in the parking lot. I went back to studio and said, "Hey, dude, I need content, CDs, flyers, like give me stuff to hand out." He gave me a stack of stuff. We went back. I didn't find any 16-year-olds, but I did find some definitely 18-year-olds that were at Hollister. They knew some friends. We found some girls. They made it in the music video. My wife was not a fan of the content either, which, you know, my wife and I are high school sweethearts. So
for clarification, when you were saying the music videos were bad, were you talking about quality or are you talking about bad for relationship?
Bad relationship. Like you can't be married and dealing with like you're in strip clubs, you're in booty shaking stuff. Like listen, if tables were turned, I wouldn't want my wife filming that stuff.
Right, of course. Exactly. So, okay. I just want to make sure that I knew
definitely one-way street there because you get paid. Naturally, none of those ladies I'd be interested in going home with or making a family with. So looking back at it, like, yeah, it's bad content. But then, you know, a year later, we're like 2013. I'm starting to fall out of love with the business. Like, I'm actually trying to get fired from doing these music videos. And I had an artist who came from Africa, Senegal, Africa, or somewhere like that, and was like, "Hey, we want to fly you out here to Africa." I said, "Not me. I don't have a passport and I'm not welcome in Africa." Like, no, not me. I'll get shot. Or I'd say something stupid and you'd hang me from my toes. Like,
you too. You say things that piss people off. I don't mean to do it.
I do.
It's just I was born with it, man.
Yeah. So like I knew if I went there, I wouldn't be coming home. So they decided to fly to Miami. I met him in Miami. I shot the music video. That was the last time I ever shot a video. And I was an asshole on the quote. Like when the director called me and was like, "How much?" I said $5,000. He said, "What do you mean $5,000?" I said, $5,000. I want this hotel. I chose the most expensive hotel in South Florida in Miami. Like my window was looking at the Miami Heat stadium. Like I was in the elevator with two of the Miami Heat players with ice on their knees, right? Because this hotel also is a condo for like multiple celebrities because again, the stadium's right across the street. So I intentionally was not wanting to do this anymore. So like that was December of 2012, 13. And then in that January, after I delivered those files, I was done. I wanted to make sure I was done. So I sold my business. I sold everything. I sold it all. And I wanted a real job. I wanted a job where I wasn't worrying about when the next bill was getting paid, when the next call was coming in, when's the next client calling me. I didn't want to have fear for anything. I wanted stability. I wanted my wife to be happy with what I was doing and not in fear if I was going to get some STD working with one of these beautiful celebrity wannabes. So I was like, okay, like this is cool. So the craziest thing is I went and got a job as a car detailer.
Hey, I in my career, I was doing my own thing with photography, just general photography, and I got, just quick story, a great job underneath a commercial photographer, Jeff Amberg, and then he told me to quit photography for 6 months to a year and just do sales, and I ended up in a car dealership doing sales. So I know how that is, man.
Yep.
All right.
I walked into this place. I walked in and I said, "Hey, I see you looking for a car detailer." I was just looking for 40 hours a week, no stress, no finusia, like that's it. And they hired me, but then 2 weeks later, they moved me from being a car detailer to going into sales. They're like, no, you're not fit for the job. I need you in sales. And I was like, damn, I don't know about this commission stuff. Like I was looking for stability.
Yeah.
And then I started what we call a dirt lot. I started at a dirt lot, and about 5-6 months later, again, I'm a massive obsessive personality. So I knew I was in a sales position, never done it before, don't know anything about it. But what I did know was I looked online and I found books, audiobooks, everything I could find to learn. And while I'm waiting for somebody to come in to buy a car, I'm listening to Joe Verdi Jr., right? I'm listening to Joe Verdi. I actually got to meet Joe Verdi. And then Joe Verdi was like, dude, you're too good to be here. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, this dirt lot is going to hold you back. Like, you need to be in a premium brand. Like, let me get you somewhere. Made a couple phone calls, got me in with a premium company. And then like, I just kept walking the ladder, moving up. But in the car business, you quit a lot because you're always moving for the next greatest thing. If somebody promises you more money, you quit. There's no loyalty. I've also have been fired more times than I can ever be fired. Never for lack of performance, but it's always because like I speak my mind. Like if something doesn't sound right, I'm like, dude, that's bullshit. Like I'm not political.
Good man.
Like
Good
I'm not,
man. We need more people like you.
Yep. Like I won't sit by and be like okay with people walking all over other people just because they can. Like I'll tell you like, hey dude, that's BS. Like, and I could say that because in one sense, like you won't fire your number one guy, but I learned they will fire your number one guy and they don't care. So if you're willing to fire the best producer you got, like if I were to die today, they would just replace me. So that's what happened. That's what ended up happening. 2014 comes around, my daughter's born. Here I'm at a car dealership and I'm not allowed to leave. My wife's in labor, but I'm not allowed to leave because I'm doing a delivery. They're like, yo, you could do that delivery when this delivery's done. I'm like, damn, this business is brutal, And remember when I say this business is brutal, it was paying me $80,000 a year. And at that time, I'm like 23 years old. $80,000 a year was a lot of money for me. And I felt like I had everything I needed with $80,000. If you ask me, do I need more money? I'm like, no. I'm good at $80,000. And then 2014, 15, 16, 17 goes around. Now I'm into management and I am making $120,000 a year, but I have no life. I don't see my daughter. I miss every game. I miss every event. I miss every appointment. I missed every milestone. There wasn't a milestone that I ever saw. Her walking, her talking, everything. Missed everything. Every opportunity, every moment, every birthday party, every special event, every school function. Missed everything. 2019 comes around. I quit early 2000, like mid 2018. I quit management. Don't want no more management. 2019 what is it? 2019 of September. I get a phone call from Furman Automotive in Tampa, the number one dealership in all of Tampa, been around since 1911. And they asked me, hey, we want to have a private meeting with you. We want to bring you on as management. We're trying to recruit you. I'm like, no, you're not going to recruit me. You can't recruit me. They're like, listen, we want to make you an offer. Don't say no, but just meet with us. Meet us at a restaurant. let us make an offer. They write a number, they slide the paper across. I look at the number, I'm like, damn, all right. Only reason I took that number is I was down to like pennies, nickels, and dollars. My photography business that I had in 2018, which by the way, I only ever created was because my wife's a licensed realtor, needed some photos. I was doing it just for her. 2019, I started to doing it for like her plus agents, but it was really my spending money. Just buy some shoes, buy some clothes, buy some dinners. Like it wasn't anything serious. It was like some low key side hustle, if you will. And then 2019, I take this management job, and then instantly I started ramping up a little bit more in work. And then December of 2019, they tell me they want me to go into finance. So I'm like, no, I don't like that sound of that. That's first one in, last one out.
Right.
165,000 a year, but you're talking 85 plus hours every week, 80 hours minimum every week. It's non-negotiable.
Dealing with all the bogues, bogues. You call them bogue in your dealership? Yeah. For people who don't know what bogues are, that's people who come in with an upside down car, no proof of income, 500 credit score, and they want the newest, baddest car on the lot.
And you know, the other thing is as a finance manager, you're the protection of the dealership. So you're the legal, you're the everything. So like if something goes wrong, it's on you. However, in management, finance managers are the least likely to be fired because you're a profit generator. So if the store's volumes drop, and it's sales manager's fault. If leadership's fallen, it's general sales manager's fault. Never the finance manager. However, if you make a mistake that costs the dealership money because it was a mistake you made in finance because you got too many files going on or they're rushing you or something happens, that's your fault. And if you're not good, they'll fire you. But thankfully, you do have a JM&A rep, which is like a representative that would get you a job somewhere else. More protection, you will land somewhere. You'll fall on your feet, but you're going to land. Like you'll fall out of the airplane. Salespeople have no parachutes. They're dead. Finance managers, parachute, they coast. They're going to land at another dealership before you even walk to the car. 2020 comes around. I come down with COVID. Dealerships freaking the F out. Like, damn it, Dono's on COVID. We're gonna get shut down. So what do? They fired me. I said, motherfuckers. I said, I never get fired. And they fired me. The guy that they take to dinner, they fired. The guy that promised all this money, they fired. So I'm like, well, damn, what am I going to do? I just got fired during COVID. Ain't nobody hiring during COVID. I said, my wife said, what are you going to do? I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to double down. I'm getting my real estate license. I'm going to do some photography on the side. It will be all right. She was already doing very well with real estate. I said, this is a good time. It's a good time. So I really doubled down on the real estate photography. And I started going from like average months, $3,000 to $5,000 a month to $6,000 to $7,000, $7,000 to $8,000. It just started building quick. And then I got a phone call one day in like late June. It was an attorney. They said, hey, we know you got fired from Furman. We want to sue them. I said, how much are we talking? And they said, well, we're looking at about $450,000. I said, ooh, okay, I'm down on that. Let me sue them. So I sued them. And it wasn't fun because I got my teeth kicked in by a very good $299 an hour attorney who wore similar sunglasses like mine with a bow tie. And he ran me through the mud, beat me up, pulled me down, kicked me again during deposition, which made me not want to do it. About 2 days, a year later, which now we're like 1 year later, which is now like 2021, I have to go to federal court to see the case through. Then like 2 days before, I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. Shut it all down. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, if I win, they're going to want to see my bank statements. They want to know how much money I made. Like, clearly, they're going to know I'm making tons of money and there's no hiding it. Like, it's just 100%. Like, I don't want any part of it. And by the way, this whole last year being in lawsuit has held me back. It has held me back from hitting my potential. Your mind is not right because you can't be focusing on growing if you're worrying about the shit in the past. Also, I couldn't advertise as much because I was so afraid of all these attorneys subpoenaing every one of my clients to know what they were paying me so they have some idea on what I'm making, because any dollar made with a new business is less that I can collect on the lawsuit. So because of all that, I was like, you know what? Putting it behind me. I'm doubling down. I literally eat, sleep. Give me 1 minute. I literally eat, sleep every single day, with work. Like I did every single day. Um,
Uh,
there wasn't one single minute of anything other than learning. I was so focused on getting better, whether that be photos, video, 3D. Every single thing I did was to get better. Everything. Um, in the very beginning, I started only doing photos. Um, and then I realized there was a shift that I didn't quite yet have, and it was video. I was missing a massive piece of the pie for not
well,
offering video. And I won't take credit for even knowing video. I reached out to my brother first. I said, hey, teach me how to do video. He's like, nah, dude, I don't got time. You won't understand how to balance a gimbal. This isn't your cup of tea. And I was like, damn, I'm really not a visual person. I'm more of a hands-on person.
you went to school for like film, like,
Yes,
so why did he doubt you?
gimbal balancing, and
Right.
also like learning how to shoot commercials, documentaries, music videos. All that was complete. Like you could take somebody who knows how to do all that and put them in a house and say, film it. They wouldn't know the first thing to do. Their
Yeah.
hand movements, the gimbal movements, everything is completely 180 different. Everything.
Yeah, I've seen that. I interviewed people who have gone to school for film, and none of them were qualified.
Yes.
Yep.
So like knowing that is like, it's not like one for one, right? Like it's 100% not one for one. So I did go to him first and be like, hey, give me a hand, teach me. But he wanted no part in the teaching aspect, right? There was like zero part of him wanting to teach. So I reached out to Nicholas Davis, who's a licensed real estate agent in Tampa, owns a similar business, but he just really does it like for his referrals, his people inside of in the office. So Nick was like, hey, I'll meet you. He's like, anybody, a brother of Ken Dono is like a guy that I'm going to help. Like, he's like, you're done. He's like, I'll teach you. We met at a Starbucks. He showed me how to balance a gimbal. At the time I was using a Canon like a Canon 5D, right? Big,
Well,
heavy thing, not really for video. And then, I quickly learned how to do it. I realized my videos sucked bad. But
we gotta start somewhere, man.
you do have to start somewhere. So I had an overseas editor. He was doing all my edits. The client thought they were good, but I'm like looking online. I'm like, man, look at all these better videos. Wow, this is good. So I quickly invested in a Blackmagic, a bunch of lenses, a new computer. My wife was like, what are you doing? Are you nuts? This is crazy. I said, well, let me tell you something, what we just did. You had a listing 3 weeks ago that the buyer reached out to you and asked if you had a video because you didn't have a video. And my brother was out of town in Vegas at CES. He couldn't shoot the video for you. So what ended up happening was another agent hired a videographer to slide in and do a video. She got the buy side, right? So that just cost you $11,700 in commission. How many more times this year are we going to lose commission on both sides because we don't have video? So like, yeah, video is going to cost us 10 grand, but I'll make my money back on my clients, but also your listings, you're going to make your money. That was how I rationalized it with her. And she said, all right, fine. So I went with a Blackmagic, shot with Blackmagic for like 6-7 months, transitioned to a Fuji X-T3, shot with the Fuji for a while, then transitioned to Sony. I've been with Sony for years, have never looked back. And every moment, photo side has never gotten better. Like where I'm at now is no different than where I was in 2020. The only difference is how I'm shooting, my efficiency. Like I used to shoot, this may offend some people, but I used to shoot flash. I used to take an hour and 20 minutes to shoot these houses because that's what we all think these agents are looking for. But let's face it, these agents are looking for speed. They're not looking for flash. And a prime example of that, like, let me see if I could find it here.
Your story is very common, by the way.
Yeah,
How many people
a friend of mine,
flash realize
I
it's
had a
useless?
friend of mine today cover me for a shoot, and he shoots flash. He shoots on a tripod. She said, And I got it right here, right? And it says, is this guy good? The guy is slow. I said, yes, he's good. And then I asked her, I said, how did it all go today? Shoot me straight like like a lion in Africa. And she said, you take 15 to 20 minutes. It took him over 2 hours to shoot the house. So,
But hold on, Joseph. There are professionals out there who swear that you can shoot with flash just as fast as HDR or bracketing. So that guy must just not know what he's doing.
well, I would love for them to train me on how I walk around a house handheld and I shoot the entire house in like 5 or 7 minutes and I'm done, because these are disposable images. Unless, of course, this house is something like God, like one of one, maybe I would justify that. But I service 13 to 1,500 listings a year. I don't have anybody ever complain about quality of the photos. Matter of fact, I just went out to the Hamptons during a hurricane and I shot a listing with handheld. This listing went under contract at $9.5 million, and this guy pays $900 to $1,500 for photos for from an architectural photographer. He thought these photos were just as good or better, but he doesn't know what I did to get these. And I'm thinking, there wasn't anything. I have a really good overseas video photography editor that understands color and then composition. But like the composition sometimes you get with handheld can never be achieved any other way. But also and I'll cover this later, but like that listing in particular, I didn't know I was doing photos. I thought I was just doing video, and it was 9,000 square feet. And I'm thinking, damn, now I got to do photos. I got to do video on this damn thing and photos. And it's 3:00 and we ain't got that much time because sunlight. So like, I really didn't think I was going to get photos done. And I told him like, hey, there's a good chance photos won't happen, but if it does, I'll deliver it. But to answer your question, like, no, dude, like this lady here told me it took him 2 hours to shoot these photos. I don't know, man. Like, if I could do the job in 10 minutes and you do the job in 1 hour, even if you do flash in 45 minutes or 30 minutes, and I do it in 15 minutes or 10 minutes, like.
But Joseph, you're saving time on the back end with editing time because it's easier to edit flash.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that because I don't edit these photos. And it may be easier for the other guy, but I also know when I shot flash, I don't know how much of flash they're truly using. So that's
so like, what are you saying that when you outsource flashes, even if you do that, the outsourcers just trash the flash frames and use the ambient ones anyway? Is that what you're saying?
I have experienced it, yeah. And the only reason I say that happens when I flash a hallway or a room that I know is intentionally dark, and the deliverable image, that room is still dark, and I go back to the flash frame, I said, why is this flash frame not used? Because then that would mean that room and that hallway would have been illuminated with flash, which means you clearly just skipped over the flash frame.
And let me ask you a question. Are those same people charging you more for the flash editing that they're not doing?
More for flash edits.
Yep.
Yeah, they do charge.
Woo! Just dropping some real
to trigger the overseas community. Yeah, in my experience, I believe there's a lot of fraudulent activity going on in the overseas community where VAs are stealing time or charging you more money for services they're not actually providing. So it's simply because they know, just like I know, right? Like an agent is paying us for photos. Like if I can do the job faster doing this and you're okay with the product 99% of the time, why would we change that? So like for them, photo editing, you never had an issue until one day there was that one image you caught and you're like, damn, that one hallway is dark. Why didn't you use it? And then you think about it. Wait a second. They didn't use a flash frame. But now think back, how many times did they never use that flash frame? So like there's that context too.
Right. Yep.
But like between that and VAs just stealing time, saying that they worked 12 hours last week when they didn't work 12 hours, to be fair, like I'll just take out the disappointment right out of the equation. Like just give me HDR photos, because as long as the HDR photos look good to me, like I've seen houses where I've shot flash, or I've shot regular HDR and another photographer shot flash and our photos look identical. So Again, I intercepted this technique maybe right around the time Tyler Frazier had created this technique. I don't know who created it, whether it be Tyler, whether it be me, whether it be my brother, whether it be a guy in Jersey called Billy. Billy is a big drone guy. I'm not sure who created this handheld technique, but I will tell you that I do things that work. I don't care who made it. I don't care how complicated it is. When I walk into houses on an average day and I'm shooting 9 houses, my body knows the difference between shooting 9 houses with a tripod. By the way, my tripod's $2,000. My Arca Swiss tripod head's $1,200. I use it only for twilights. And to be fair, like it sits in my car 99% of the time. So listen, if I could shoot those photos in 10 minutes and I could shoot video in 20 minutes and the floor plan takes 3 minutes and flowing up a drone takes 5-6 minutes and I'm out of there in under 45 minutes and I get paid the same amount of money and the agent likes the quality, like sometimes I think we as videographers and photographers are so obsessed with the process, but we lose sight of what is most important. Quality, deliverables, what the agent thinks, because what we think don't matter. It's who's paying us.
Yep.
And I think too much, we get hung up on all the wrong stuff.
How do you balance that? As you've said, you've had a obsessive personality. I do too, as well. Frankly, I try to manage as much as possible. I think it's pretty common in the photography world. A lot of us are musicians. A lot of us speak multiple languages. A lot of us are into cars. It just seems to be very common thread. And a lot of us are perfectionist, obsessive people. How do you tamper that and balance it down? Especially,
I think I'm the best person to answer that question because one of my students, her name's Mary. She lives in North Carolina, or maybe it's South Carolina. She's got this personality that everything has to be perfect. And I'm like, Mary, like when you deliver something and you're freaking out, oh my God, this is wrong. What the client say? No, they loved it. I'm like, the client loved it. What are you worried about? Well, I mean, it was like the windows weren't all that good. And like, this was like not all that right. Like in that. And I'm like, Mary, these are things that you caught. The agent doesn't get two shits, right? Like when you were working with the top end agents that do volume, you know what they care about? They just care about representation and presentation, right? So like you show up, you're professional, you look good, you do your job, you leave, you didn't take a ton of time. And by the way, that time that we talk about, I was just training an agency in Georgia, and the agent pops up out of nowhere, right? Just literally genie in the bottle shows up out of nowhere. And I didn't even know he was the agent. I thought maybe he was like a co-owner of the business that I was training. And this guy's shaking hands like he's the Pope. And I'm like, yeah, hey, how you doing? Like, I know the guy. I don't know who he is. He's like, oh, I'm the agent that sells all the properties in this community. And by the way, this is the Bluffton. So Bluffton, South Carolina, right? Apparently it's like the Hamptons of the Carolinas. You know what he decides to tell everybody? If there was 15 people from this company all sitting in the room, he decides to tell everybody, if any one of you decide to show up to my listing and think you're going to take 4 to 5 hours to shoot photos and video, don't waste your time. You won't get hired. So, oh shit. I'm like, why? He's like, you got 1 to 2 hours to do what you got to do in these houses. Like, my sellers don't like taking their entire day being monopolized around like not able to live in their home. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Take that as a learning moment that homeowners don't want their stuff being jacked up for hours and hours and hours. The agent doesn't want their time being frozen either. So what they're telling you is make a good product, but do it fast.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, guys, if you're going to put quality on a hierarchy, it barely makes the top 10. In fact, I talk about the holy trinity of photography, and that is availability, communication, turnaround time. If you're not available and your calendar is not open, they're not going to wait and put off the listing because they're waiting on the photographer. Sorry. We're dealing with sellers here that are American consumers. They're some of the most impatient, entitled customers you can have in the entire world. And if the customer gets upset, the seller, the real estate agent's going to be upset, right? So our goal is to keep that seller real happy. And that seller, once again, is an American consumer. So they're going to say, hey, yeah, take as long as you want. Take your time. I'm good. 15 minutes in the shoot, 20 minutes in the shoot. Hey, you almost done? As they're coming through the house, turning off your lights in rooms that you haven't even shot yet. So you guys just got to understand that there are certain rules, and you can't count on what, like, this agent is doing them a big favor by being that honest. A lot of clients aren't going to care. And you're going to keep thinking, man, I got to get my photo quality better.
No,
Doesn't matter.
no, it doesn't. And recently, you know, it doesn't mean much, but when I say this price tag, average median home in this community is $325,000. So I'm shooting a $950,000 property last Tuesday. And when I'm there with the homeowner, you know we're going to do video, but I want to make sure, because it doesn't matter necessarily what the agent wants, because sometimes you'll shoot something because the agent's hip and young, but then it's too fast beat or too fast pace, and nothing sucks more than having to re-edit a video to slow it down, because these trendier videos are fast.
Mm-hmm.
Here I got the homeowner. I know she's older. I said, hey, let me show you a video on a previous listing in the same community. Let me show you what this looks like. I want to make sure that we're on the same page. Are you good with this speed, or are we looking to go something real slow, kind of like what real estate videos were previous to 2022? She looked at him and said, don't waste my time. I got a doctor's appointment to get to. I got a lawyer's visit I got to pay. Like, you're wasting my time. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Say no more. I got you. Now I'm flying through. I shot the video on that house quick. I shot the photos quick. Like, I was in and out of that house 51 minutes, and it was 3,600 square feet. You know, recently I haven't seen my fair share of critical sellers. I found my share of, I need it fast. I want you out of here, you know? And I see a lot of agents the same way. They are either, if they do show up, they definitely don't want you there for 3-4 hours. And when I edit videos for people, I can see how long you're taking to shoot your video. I see the first timestamp, and the last one. Mm-hmm. What in God's creation took you 3 hours and 45 minutes to shoot video? Like, I'm looking at these clips and I'm like, dude, you need to know what you're shooting before you start shooting. Like, you shouldn't be staring at a shot wondering what you're doing. Move.
Yeah.
Move.
And don't. So when I'm training my employees too, because we used to edit all of our videos in house before I hired an offshore videographer that I trained personally, because I'm particular like you. I need to have my videos done a certain way. But even when we're doing in house, I recognize, listen, we have to have 30 to 45 minutes of editing time for this to work. So because if we're taking any more than that, then I might as well outsource it to a company that charges me $50 a pop, right? So one of the biggest things we had to streamline was the shooting, because if we're coming home with 50 or 60 video clips, what are you doing? Like, just culling the video clips are going to take half an hour. So we got to get 20, 25 shots maximum, and we're not taking 2 takes of the same shot. Maybe you take 2 takes when you're on site. You delete the one we're not going to use in camera when you're there. So
I wish I had clients delivering me that many files, because we've had a handful of clients recently. One in particular that I just went out and trained, average less or just a hair under 500 gigs. Normally 350 to 400 file size. Total clips 350 to 400 is his like average.
Wait, hold on. 350 clips. Dude, there's no way.
Yeah, clips. Yeah, that's what Dylan said too when I first downloaded the folder, and I loaded it into Final Cut, and I brought everything in as proxies, and I'm like, dude, we have like 450 clips here. And then I'm looking at the clips, and I'm like, and the first thing I do is I call the client on the phone. I'm like, all right, dude, like, all your wide straight pushes are jacked. Your white balances are wrong. It's underexposed. So they then quickly went back to the property, reshot everything with me on Zoom, and said, hey, does this look right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how am I supposed to go wide? I'm like, dude, like, I'll explain to you how you do these wide shots, but like the best way to explain it to anybody is go as far away from a room and put your ass on that wall. And then when you go forward, make sure your lens touches the next wall, whether it be a straight push, a curve push. Like, I need these long distance shots. Don't shoot with your camera like you're editing linear inside of that camera. Don't act like you're the one editing, because you're not. So when you don't give me these clips for these long distance speed ramps, don't be disappointed when you're like, but my videos don't look like Eric Davidson. Well, let me show you what Eric Davidson's clips look like. Let me show you his long distance walks. Like when he walks, it's the longest lawn all the way to a wall, right? Like he doesn't stop. If the counter is here, he don't stop here. He throws his hand over the counters as far as he can go, you know?
Right. And by the way, if I can throw in a quick rule that I follow there, guys, the top 2 rules that I teach when teaching videography to my employees is number 1, do not overshoot. Number 2, get more footage than you need. That sounds like it conflicts, like it's a self-compromising there. It's not. What I mean by is you get good clips, but you only get 20, 25. When for editing, you get a lot more footage than you're actually going to use in the edit, right? That's key. So if you're getting a shot because you're going through a door and you know you're going to whoosh or zoom transition right through the door into the kitchen, you start way back from the door and you go all the way, like he's saying, till your camera hits the front of the door. Just so you know. So when you do that speed ramp, when you do that transition, you have enough frames to make sure that it's seamless.
And there's been some bad habits I've seen from some videographers. They'll do detail shots, but they're going to stack like 9 or 10 detail shots in one clip. That's a no-no as well. So you give me one clip, but I don't have thumbnails now. So now I have to scrub through the entire clip, which is taking time away, because now I have to see what clip looks good. And then you have a bunch of clips because you're moving all around the house, and I got to then kind of splice it all up and kind of like see what we're doing here. My best thing is shoot with intent, right? Shoot with purpose. Like, don't shoot clips because they're like, all right, I'll just throw this in there. Like, dude, if you knew there was no light in there and it was a bullshit shot, like, what are we looking at here? Like, do you think that clip is going to make it in the edit suite? Like, is that in the final product? Like, or was that a filler shot because you just felt the need to have to shoot it just because? Like, you're like, I know I'm not shooting a lot. Let me just go throw this random ass shot in here. I know it doesn't look good, but I'm just going to shoot it anyways. Don't do that, because throughout the course of a house, you doing that, I guarantee you probably do that like 60 times. Well, you just added 60 more clips that didn't need to be there.
Right.
Like lower the minutia, get rid of all the ancillary fodder, right on out, and focus on only quality shots. Make sure the time of day is good. If the time of day is not good, then convince the agent to do time, like a nighttime video shoot, right? So that way the rooms that are bad lighting, that flat lighting, get it at nighttime, because 99% of the time it probably looks 10 times better at nighttime than it would in daytime. And that's only if the budget allows. But like if you're doing volume-based work where the agents don't have a big budget and the house isn't really sexy, you could still make basic houses look sexy. Just got to make it look sexy in the edit. Trendy songs, creative color LUTs are a big hype right now. And hell, if all else fails, take the house away from the video, right? But put the agent on camera, say, hey, for an extra X dollar amount, we can make this video more about you, less about the house, because we know this house really isn't all that and a bag of potato chips, but we can make it more about you and less about the house. Fancy hooks, something quirky can make people click and talk about the video, because let's face it, this house is not a one of one. This is not a cinematic luxury listing. This is an average Joe Schmo house. Let's take it for what it is. And I think that most videographers are overcomplicating the process because we idolize people who are shooting $200 million listings and we want to be like them, but we can be like them, but different, right? So I'd rather be the guy that makes, $300,000 a year and has a long-term business than a guy that makes $300,000 a year, but you're training a bunch of people to do the same thing in your market. Because what's going to end up happening is, which has already happened in my market, 2022, I was the only guy doing these videos in Tampa. Then my brother comes behind me to start doing it. And then there's 3 other guys behind us that are doing it. When you're the only guy in your market doing these fancy videos, you could charge $1,500 a pop, $2,000 a pop, no problem, because you got confidence. You tell that agent, this is my price. And they're like, nope, not paying that. I've been paying $300. Great. Go call your $300 agent. So then they call the $300 videographer. They shoot it and it's not what they thought. And then they call you back and they're like, okay, can you do it a little better? I just had to pay this other guy to do it. He couldn't do it. Nope. Now, guess what? You got that job at $1,500. But now there's like 10 guys in my Tampa market that are all doing these videos. We cannot charge the same high prices because we're creating a standard industry. Standard. Meaning these videos are very easy to make because there's a lot of overseas editors that will do these videos for $75 to $100 a click. So as long as you're charging $300, you're walking away with $200 profit. Send an edit out, $100, making $200. Some people are like, I can't justify that. I say, okay, well, you're still doubling your money. What do you double on your photography, right? You pay 60 to 80 cents an edit. What do you charge for photos? When you look at your money, it's the same numbers. You know what I mean? I know you don't want to pay $75 for an edit, but the problem is you don't know how to edit this video. You don't have the experience. You don't have the time. And even if you knew how to do it, it's about 2 to 3 hours per edit to do these world-class, fancy, trendy videos. It takes about 3 hours to do these edits. If you did 2 a day, you're either going to not have life or you're going to have a bad edit, because I even know people who paid Danny Bartello tons of money to learn his program and they suck at editing, right? And they suck at shooting. So I know 60% of his students still don't even know how to shoot. At least 60%. And then I know at least 80% of them don't know how to edit. So
and learning how to price yourself comes a lot harder than shooting and editing.
Yeah. And honestly, I tell people all the time, stop worrying about what these other schmucks doing in California and Florida. Like, because people say Florida, I'm, hey, like, leave me out of that crap. Like, I'm over here in South America. That guy's over in the Atlantic, bro. He's over there with the big ballers. Like, I'm over here with the guys that literally got hit with 7 hurricanes in the last 2 years. Like, don't come looking on this side of Florida, because we're orange farmers, brother. Like, we got some low income properties. Now, I say that, but there's some guys further north of me that are doing very well. But if I were to kind of like pull an analytics report on like what people are charging for video, it's not thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? It is not thousands of dollars, and it never needs to be there.
And here's the thing, guys. Most people in the country cannot charge thousands of dollars for video. That's just a reality. So one thing that I really agreed with Joseph on when he started this whole thing, like from the very beginning of the podcast, was if you want to learn how to do this, you need to learn how to do it in the rest of the world market, the real world market, where you got to learn how to make a profit with like a $300 or $400 video. In order to do that, you need to be in and out there with very little time and effort to be making a sustainable business. So if you're going in there with $200 or $300 or worse, free, you're trying to build a business thinking you can just do this all for free, and you think you're going to be able to do that in 5 years when you've got a kid, when you can no longer work 24 hours and stay up all night, guys, you're going to be finding a new career, because this is not sustainable.
Yeah. Honestly, to be fair, there's a couple things, right? So like I've helped a couple really talented videographers really change their pricing strategy. We kind of target it more, kind of learned this a little bit from Danny Bartello, where you're not trying to sell your premium package. You're not trying to sell your basic package. You're trying to sell your middle package. So you stack a ton of value in the middle. For me in my market, photos, video, floor plan, drone, $750. But it sounds really, really cheap. But when I do it 3 to 4 times a day, and I do that 4 times a week, 5 times a week, I guarantee you $400,000 annual income makes me happy. I don't care anymore about these bragging rights about whose video is best or who's the best videographer. I want to talk about who's the most profitable videographer. Like, what do you have for your assets, right? Like we don't have accolades. We don't have these trophies. We don't go on red carpets. There was just a recent post talking about the GOAT of real estate videography. I challenge Claudio. I challenge Eric. Like, let's talk about assets of what you have in life. Like, who is the best?
Hold on. Is that a real post?
Yes, it was a real post.
Dude, I want you to send me that link because I
it was
missed
a real
it.
post where it started off with like only about 2 to 3 names, and then it spiraled out where there was dozens of different names on this list. But in the reality is like some of those guys who are on that list have some of the most upscale, lavish lifestyle properties that are very easy to make look 100% amazing. I would
also a lot of these people, sorry to interrupt, aren't making that much money through real estate photography. Like through their actual business of real estate media, they're not making that much profit.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's what I would say. I don't really know what they're making because it's not any hidden secret. I'm not a huge fan of one videographer in particular. We have went head to head many of times, and I have shown my numbers. I have never seen his numbers, but there's a reason because
I'm not sure who you're talking about, but I will say this in a blanket, like it doesn't matter what YouTube channel you follow or something else. Sorry for fun. Now, and I'm sorry for sounding negative here, guys. We're just being real, and I understand this is not usually socially acceptable, but these guys will trash people all day long. So it's perfect, and I'll apply the same accountability to myself. If you constantly talk about numbers and you never talk about your profits, and I see all sorts of influencers use various tricks, okay? These tricks include talking about how their style of shooting and editing makes them superior, but in years of content, they've never shared their profits. They will talk about the value of the real estate they've shot versus their profits. They'll talk all about the revenue of their business and how many employees they have. But you go through their hundreds of videos, you'll never see them talk about profits. But these people aren't shy, timid people. If they had profits, believe me, they would tell you. The reason they're not telling you is that they're just honest enough to where they want to hide it. Anyway, so I'm not sure who you're talking about.
And
I just called out
like
several
this.
people.
Like, when I'm sitting in my sauna and I'm watching YouTube videos and I'm watching this guy talk about how he's a distant runner and he's a fast runner. And I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, buddy, there's nothing fast about you other than the way you eat your food off your plate. I can't take you serious as a runner. And this past weekend's race, there's a seated chart, right? So all sub-elite runners are in the front pack. We get about a 5.5 minute head start. I was in this pack and I'm looking around. There's some fast runners, and you can see a fast runner just like when you're in the gym. Strong lifters, right? And I'm no strong lifter. I'll never be. I'm a runner. I knew there were some cheaters in this line. How they made it in this pack of elite runners, I would never ever know. And I look around, think to myself, God damn. And I say to say that one individual, one media agency has done nothing but talk about all this money they make. And I said, buddy, you are preaching to the most vulnerable videographers in this world because they idolize you, look up to you so much, but you're preaching bullcrap. Because you know what? If I hear you tell me one more time how you made $100,000 last month, but if you did, you wouldn't say you made $100,000 because you'd log onto your Stripe account or your Square account and you would flow that all around because you already got done telling me you made $100,000. The reason you're not willing to show me what you're making, which by the way, I don't ask every videographer what they're making. I just ask those who say it a million times but have never showed evidence. And I'm an evidence type of person. If I tell you I made $550,000 last year, I'm going to show you I made $550,000. I won't tell you, I'm going to show you, because showing you means more than talking about it. And it blows my mind where agency owners will literally buy themselves clout by talking about this money they make. And honestly, that is what has gotten me to the point of hating this industry so much, because I'm to the point where I want to help people. I want to see other people be successful, but I will not cheat my way to the top, right? I won't tell you that I'm making $1 million. I won't tell you that I'm charging $15,000 to $2,000, $9,000, $10,000 for videos, because it doesn't exist. I just don't do it. I will never charge that because there's a part of me still acts as if I was a licensed agent or my wife is a licensed agent. I wouldn't pay that kind of money on a disposable media source. And some people would say, dude, you're shortcutting yourself. And it's no, I'm not shortcutting myself, because there's always a guy out there that does a really good product for a really good price. That's the guy I'm going to do business with, right? Not doing business with this guy who literally acts like he's Giorgio Armani over here, talking about how he's the best and he makes agents famous. Well, if you make people famous, then go become an agent. I'd love to see you become famous, because the reason you're not an agent is because you can't deal with the objections and the buyers and the sellers and the politics of real estate. Because, dude, it will eat you up and spit you out faster than real estate videography ever will. And there's moments and days I hate what I do with a passion, and I want to sell my business. I want to close my business, but there's something that I stop and realize. I don't want to go back to the car business. Going back to car business is going back to prison. I've never went to prison, but if I were to go to prison, I'd probably be somebody's soap boy. And I don't want to go back to prison, just like I don't want to go back to the car business, because at the end of the day, I have a lifestyle that I created for myself with hard work and dedication and tons of failure. I got myself to a point where I create a good product. It doesn't take me a lot of time. I have my agents who like me, because it's not what you know, it's how you present yourself. Are you a people person? If you've ever been to Florida and you've ever gone to Busch Gardens or Walt Disney World, there's a difference between Walt Disney World's customer service and Busch Gardens. Busch Gardens is like going onto a welfare line and you're hearing all this people fighting and yelling and hooting and hollering. Then you go to Disney World and it's the most customer service, customer friendly experience you've ever seen. If you had an issue, they're going to take care of you 110%. Busch Gardens, it's like, yeah, call 1-800. By the way, that number doesn't even work. You're never getting good service.
Let me ask you about this, because full transparency, one of the reasons why I contacted and reached out to you. So you're an established photographer and videographer, incredibly successful. You've started your own editing company. You help people across the country do all this stuff. And lately you've been posting, you know what? I'm thinking about selling my business. You know what? I'm hopping out of here. So, and this is the real reason why I wanted to have you on, is to explore this challenge that you're facing. Because listen, whether you like Joseph or not, based on how he sounds, some people are going to be like, man, this is my man. I'm glad I'm hearing someone else saying what I've been thinking for all these years. Other people are like, why does he sound so negative? And there's going to be not many people in between. I think all of us have been through situations where we have bad clients, a bad shoot, bad customer experience, where it just thinks, you know what? I love what I do. Forget all this. I'm going home. We have to face that at some point or another, especially once the honeymoon of starting your own business and being successful is over, right? So how did you get to this point? And are you really thinking about leaving the industry when you've made it this far? Because you clearly like, man, I'm not going to prison. I'm not going back. I ain't going back. What has gotten you into the situation where you're like, man, I'm thinking about selling versus I'm not going back? Like, where are you exactly? And what has caused you to be here? And what do you think you could do to fix it so that you can do this for the rest of your life, kind of thing?
So it's a really loaded question and it runs through my head, but only few people will understand why I feel like I feel and why I would also move out of the business. But if you had what I had, you would say, what else more do you need, right? I have the most beautiful custom home ever built. I don't own a mortgage. I just have a massive ass tax bill on it. So all I got to do is cover that tax bill. I have a family. I have a son. I have a daughter. My daughter wants no part of me in the car business. She has PTSD. Yeah. We passed the Chevy logo and she's like, oh, no. She is like got PTSD of the car business. But when I'm at dinner, here I am. I'm not with them. I'm okay. Respond to this person, respond to that person, deal with this. My mind is never off, right? When I'm at dinner, when it's supposed to be family time, I'm over here dealing with putting out this fire, dealing with that fire. They need this reschedule, they need that, or this person wants something for free because they didn't realize, oh, the person just changed the kitchen. Can I just get a re-kitchen photo shoot? It's like, no, there's a fee for that, right? Like I'm gonna go to Whole Foods and ask them like, hey, do do you mind, since I had to buy the eggs at $23 for the dozen, do you mind if I can go in there and grab a couple sticks of celery for free? No, I don't freaking think so. You know what I mean? So the negativity comes from people. If your kids do sports and you've ever coached sports, why do you hate the sports? It's not the kids, it's the damn parents. The parents freaking ruin the sports every single time. Just like the agents ruin our business for us. I try so hard to prohibit issues, right? Find everything that could possibly go wrong and get in front of it. Even when you think you figured it all out, you ain't even figured it out. Some other wild, bizarre idea, some crazy thing will pop off. And you're just like, take a video of a cute little dog with dopey ears, fat, fluffy, just cute little, I've never even seen an animal like this before. It's a dog, and I'm a dog lover. I have golden retrievers. I love it. I have all the passion for animals. So when I see donkeys and horses and cows and dogs, I'm not a cat person, but that's okay. I tell my wife I'm allergic. I don't know if I am, but that's what I'm sticking with. But I take this video and I put it on Instagram. I tag the agent. And at 10:55 at night, the night of a father-daughter dance, and only about 7 hours before one of my biggest races I've ever trained for, get a text, a Facebook message from the seller telling me I have to remove this dog from my Instagram because I don't have permission. I mean, it was like a cease and desist. And I'm just like, why? Why do I do this? Then the agent texts me and says, we got to get it off. The house is on fire. Yeah, what are you doing? I'm like, did I take a picture of somebody's dog? Like, what did I do wrong? I mean, like, is it a kid? Did you steal the dog? Yeah. Like, is it in secret custody or something? Like, what am I not understanding here? Like,
there's that American consumer coming through, like I said.
I'm like, it's a dog and it's a story. 9 hours, it would have been gone. Like, again, I hate people. I have to pretend I love you. I have to say all the nice things. But there comes a time where, like, I come home, I take out my frustration on my wife because I can't take out the frustration with my customers. You're wrong. You're an asshole. But no, I can't say that to them, right? So there's no downtime. When you come home, you're just so frustrated with everybody's BS. Listings are not ready. You have to leave. You have to start being more strict. And I hate letting my agents down. I hate telling them no, right? Hey, I know I'm going to walk into a 3:00 complete unready home. So 2 things happen. You either reschedule it and make sure the house is ready, or pay to have all these items removed, or C, deal with it in whatever condition. Because when I walk in, I'm going to shoot like I'm in Afghanistan. I'm just going to delivering those photos. If you don't like it, that's on you, but then don't hire me, right? Like, I'm sorry. Right. I'm coming down to that point that I'm jaded as hell where I just cannot tolerate insanity anymore, because I thought the car business had insanity. I thought I seen and heard every stupid question could be asked. No, I haven't heard it. And now I own an editing agency that's doing extremely well. And I'm saying to myself, do I keep my photography, videography business, or do I just sell it, cash out, see my kids through college, and manage my editing business more hands-on? Do I buy a studio? Do I staff it with, 7 or 8 really good, talented individuals locally, have a more of a ability to just fly anywhere I need, right? I got a large team in Texas. They're struggling with their videos. They just can't seem to comprehend. No matter how much we tell them over the phone, via text, they're just not comprehending. They're like, Joe, we just need hands-on. Boom, on an airplane, flying wherever I need to go to train you. Because every student that I've trained, their edits are so much easier to edit. Those are 30 to 40 minute long edits for every single one of my students I've trained and taught personally. Any non-trained person is delivering a whoosh wash of product, right? Like, it's not good. And then even those who may have listened 1,001 times to Claudio's Zoom calls or the creative group guys, the 804 medias, all those other guys. Yes, they are making strides, but unfortunately the progress isn't good enough, right? They're still making tons of bad rookie mistakes that probably they don't even know they're making because they have a really good editor who's just fixing it, but not telling them like, hey, you're doing this wrong, right? They know the how it's being delivered, but they don't know the why. So when I see certain things that are happening, we will deliver your files back with an explanation on how to grow yourself better. Because if we don't tell you how to fix it, it's just going to make our jobs harder. And a lot of videographers don't even ask their editors, like, what can I do different? Because the response you get from an overseas editor is shoot better. Well, what does shoot better even mean? Like, I don't know what shoot better means. Can you tell me what I have to do?
It doesn't necessarily mean the overseas editors know what the heck they're doing either. Lots of times the editors have never even picked up a camera themselves. So they wouldn't know what to tell you.
And it's possible. It's very possible, but I love with wholeheartedly what it is that I do. I do like the brain damage. This is what I call it, the brain damage. I do love the photography side of things. But there just comes a time where like this is what you're doing. And I will tell you, this is the one thing that no videographer wants to hear. We are the only person in this entire world, more than doctors, more than attorneys, more than anybody, that cares so much about what we're doing, that we're on Facebook groups battling with other videographers that we're better, when you're not even in my goddamn market. And then if you're not fighting with one another, you're over here sharing your content and fighting with others on trying to tell people why your video should be edited like this and not like that. And then you're looking up inspirations on Instagram for hours and hours. We spend more time working, not being paid, than any other industry in this world. There is nobody else when they're not making money. A doctor who's not making money is not home freaking doing gosh, I don't know what, right? Like doctors aren't doing it. Lawyers aren't doing it. CPAs aren't doing it. I'm not sure in what industry that I will find a videographer at midnight communicating with another videographer talking about how do I shoot like this? How do I get white balance like that? What camera equipment should I buy? Like there's just too much that we do to ourselves but with good reason. Like I know a lot of this will get good and you'll get better. But I'm referring to this statement to those that are already at the top. Those guys already at the top are so like, dude, you have to separate yourself from this because if you don't, you're going to lose your family or you won't find a family. If you don't have a family and you haven't established a family yet, you're never going to get a family. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a business. You're going to have money.
Yeah, guys, what he's saying there is so real.
What's that?
Like what you're saying there is so real. If you don't get your business life under control, you don't have time for your family. Man, I've known people in the industry where mismanagement of their business has caused divorce, breakups before marriage. Heck, it might have been responsible for miscarriages, man. Like, and that doesn't just happen in our business. It happens in a lot of industries, right?
And in the car business, we call it, you're not a professional until you had 2 or 3 divorces. Like we used to, when you get interviewed, they're like, all right, well, how many divorces you had? Yeah. When I say 0, they're like, oh, we can't hire you. I said, no. See, that's where you're wrong. I'm just a good closer. I keep reeling mine back in. She keeps trying to leave me. I just keep bringing her back. So I'm good. I'm just not willing to lose somebody over a job because as you said before, every 7 years you find a new career. But your spouse is forever. Like that's who you got. That's your ride or die. And I see far too many times where we push too much aside. And that's why, dude, the night father-daughter dance, I should have been in the zone of having the best time of my life. Instead, phone is blowing up, agent, homeowner, negative. I'm just like, dude, like.
Hey, did your daughter notice?
What's that?
Did your daughter notice?
No, she didn't. I do a good job at shielding. But what I do notice is she absolutely hates. We can't go to dinner anymore. We can't do vacations. And she's like, well, you're always on that phone. You know, picking her up from school the whole time. I'm manning dozens of calls. This call, that call, text messages. When I was in the car business, I only was at work when I was at work. But when I was home, I was I was 100% at home. You had no issues being involved, right? Here in this business, I don't know how many videographers and photographers are guilty of it, but dude, we are spending too much time working when we should not be working. And I don't care if you're the guy that has admins and VAs, you're still guilty of it. I know there's a dozen of guys that have them and they're still doing things that they should not be doing. So for the year of 2025, if I do not sell my business, my goal is to really put a dampening in normal business hours. My phone is being picked up at 9 a.m. and at 6 p.m. that phone goes off. I don't give a flying F if you're trying to book something and it's not available. And you might say it. The number one most important factor is if your availability is not available, they won't book with you. This is what I would say. It's okay to lose business.
Right.
Because
exactly.
to be the best, you have to be okay with losing something. I cannot be in fear of losing a customer because this is what's losing my sanity. I lost my sanity because I'm always concerned with what the customer's complaints are or being available. Like no business can you get the owner on the phone at midnight, 10 o'clock. And I get text messages 2:30 in the morning. I get emails 3, 4 in the morning. You know what I mean?
So
now,
let me ask you a question.
Responses.
What have you done? So obviously this isn't your experience. You've run sales departments. You've run your own business. You have employees. You're managing editors. You're dealing with customers all over the world. Clearly, you know how to delegate and scale. How come so far a virtual assistant or even an in-person assistant or office staff, or systems that you put in place on your order form, getting a business phone number that only has business hours so that even after a certain time, you don't even get notifications and they can, go jump in a lake. What of these things have you tried? Because I know for a fact, just out of the way of talking, you've thought of this stuff, you've implemented it, and it hasn't mattered because your real estate agents just go around those blocks and just harass you. What are some things you've tried, and why didn't
I haven't
they
tried
work?
anything.
I
haven't tried anything, and there's a reason for that. You want to know
What
the
is it?
reason?
Yes, I do.
It's myself.
Uh-huh.
A bad spending habit. You should see my shoe collection. See how many times I go out $300-$400 a night dinners, or my traveling, or the Rolexes. So I say to myself, when you look at an annual cost of like what all these costs would be for salaries, this guy's, 20 grand, that guy's 20 grand, this guy's 30 grand, that guy's 40 grand to do all these back end work that is not profit generators. I'm paying people to do nonprofit work. That could be a Rolex there. Oh, there's, that's,
Well, you could imagine if you had 3 or 4 hours a day to relax yourself and come back. I mean, for the price of one Rolex, you could get 4 if that's what you wanted.
Well, I'm thinking to myself something differently. I'm thinking, well, price of a good therapist is probably about $199 an hour. I'm thinking I'm going to probably not do the therapist route and do the VA route. But the VA route goes against everything I believe in, only because the labor's cheap. However, have you ever tried calling Chase or Bank of America and you got this person on the phone that is like driving you insane because they don't speak English very well? Yeah, I will not emulate my business and the cost of profit to do the exact opposite. So I'm hiring, this is what I'm already putting in motion. I'm hiring a full-time assistant to handle all calls, all texts, everything right on through. Because
I would encourage you, just out of curiosity, you can either hire, so a lot of the banks and the corporations that are super large, they hire the worst people. You can get very good people who don't have accents because they actually spent several years in the U.S. Kicking our asses in university, frankly. And then they fly back to the Philippines or Vietnam, or a lot of them are based out of South America, and they're in the same time zone as us. so you don't have to worry about. But you can find these people on onlinejobs.ph. The best thing you can do is put up your own job application, make it as strict as you want it to be. Like when you submit an application, in the subject line, put Joseph Dono kicks ass, or you will not be considered for the position. You will find incredible virtual assistants that will make your life a dream, and you can make all the money still, and you won't have to hire a local, or you can hire locally, because frankly, you have a big enough business that you can spend the money to make it worth it. But either way, dude,
and you know what? There's so much frustrations within our business, but the truth really comes down to is this is a direct reflection of years of neglecting my family, and then my focus was always trying to get better, right? And I told you earlier today, when I paid for Danny's course, I was so obsessed with learning that my daughter first was in ICU at All Children's Hospital. She had a asthma issue, and quite frankly, we didn't even think it was anything major until I went to the hospital and they checked her O2 levels. And this first time my wife was sick and she couldn't go to the hospital. She's like, all right, just take her in. They were talking about flying her to the hospital because it was that bad. I got flooded with 10 doctors flying in. I was like, holy shit. I'm texting my wife like, hey, no joke, but like the one time I take her alone, like we got every doctor in this hospital strapping her up, putting IVs in her because they were expecting her to crash because her O2 was that low. They shipped her into St. Pete. My wife was already getting ready to go into the hospital. She was just fighting with every strain in her body to prevent that. We had a hurricane coming in at the same time. Like literally the hospital was shutting down as we were coming in. So which means you can only have one parent present during the hurricane. After the hurricane was done, like I'm literally sitting in the hospital room just with my headphones on, listening to Danny's courses. I was watching Danny's courses on auto run cycle, like literally just 100 times, listening to it, learning to sequence edit, learning to shoot, learning everything over and over and over again. Then my wife went into ICU and she was there for 10 days. And I literally sat in the hospital learning. And then I was finding properties nearby that I could learn from. So then that way I could literally go from the hospital, go shoot a property nearby, go back to the hospital, learn again. And I did that for about 2 months before I felt confident to kind of go out in the field and utilize what Danny had just been teaching.
So you are a highly motivated worker. And hey, if you've made it in business, that's a requirement. So kudos to you, man. But if you're wanting to get to the next level, like, so here's what I'm saying. And you're not asking me this question, so forgive me if I'm giving you, my perspective when you didn't ask. But you have a few options here. You can sell your business and get some money from that, and then focus on your editing. But if you don't figure out the processes, you're gonna overwork in that industry as well. So you've got to figure out a way to put in a system, and maybe this can become your new obsession rather than the video or the editing or the business or the money. It could be the automation process that you obsess about to get as little, like, I want to have as little involvement in the day-to-day business. Maybe you say, you know what, I want to still be involved, but keep it 4 hours a day. And that becomes your new obsession. But from what I'm hearing, it sounds like no matter what you do, if you don't flip a switch in your head, because you're the one who said it's me, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And think about it like this. When I started this business, I was broke, right? So everybody says to me, oh man, Joe, it must be nice to have what you have. But what nobody realizes is I've been broke 3 times, right? So like in 2000, like right after I was in video productions, like call it like 2012, I remember coming back from Hawaii, and I was young at the time. So like I thought a great idea to save money on electric was to flip the breaker. So I wasn't utilizing power. But what I didn't realize is it killed my freezer and my fridge. So I lost all my fruit and food and all my everything. So like I went to Hawaii broke. I came back even broker because I had less money in my bank account now because I had to rebuy food. So I was broke then in like 2012. And then in 2014, I had my daughter. And guess what? I was broke. Like I got a phone call once when I was at work. My wife says, Joe, we got no money in the bank account. I said, don't worry, I'm on my way. I don't know what I was going to do. I really didn't have any money, but I worked with a amazing general manager, Christopher Steinman. Chris was like, Joe, I'm going to loan you $1,000, get back on your feet, sell a bunch of cars and you'll be good, which is what I did. That was the second time I was broke. And then I was broke again, late 2018, going into 2019. That was the third time I was broke. So when I started my business, I was coming out of the car business, coming into COVID, not broke, but I didn't have a lot of money. I grew this business with nothing. Now I have an amazing house. I have no mortgage. I have all our debt is freely paid off. Even though that I have all these assets, but I do know if I were to sell my business and cash in on that business, that this editing business could be far easier to grow with a large sum of money, because to grow a business quick and fast, I could hire 3 or 4 editors and not care that we're losing money currently. Like, hey, I'm losing payroll right now with these 3 guys. But what's it even matter? Because the long-term plan is that I'll be making far more money, right? I have a studio. I pay for all the equipment there, right? So no more worrying about what computer these guys have. I would stock this entire studio with the best equipment, right? Make the experience the best, right? Lighting the best, the walls the best. Give them a room with a ping pong table, a pool table where they can chill out and relax, where they look forward to coming to work. I want it to be a cultural thing where it's great. No more working from home type deal, right? Because I don't know what you're doing during those hours, but I want you to come to work, make a great living, but have a great atmosphere, great culture, great leadership. Both myself and Dylan are both owners of the business. Dylan's a complete opposite of me. He's like super chill, low key, like he's analytical. He's all like numbers, like he's like the guy with the IRS. I'm like Donald Trump. I'm over here like Crash Bandicoot, boom, bang, boom, pop.
You just lost half the audience, or more.
Maybe I might have, but I didn't tell you who I voted for because I didn't.
Well, what are you going to do? So my big question here, though, is okay. So you leave that behind because you hate, for example, hating people. People ruin the business.
People ruin it.
Who's worse in your mind? Do you think real estate agents or videographers?
All right, I'll answer that. I think videographers are worse because I'll tell you why. They're only worse because they know what they're doing, right? So agents don't know what they're doing and they just fuck up and they don't know that they're making these mistakes, right? They don't know what they're asking. They don't know what they don't know. Videographers know, right? They all complain that they're not being paid. They all complain that their invoices are paid slow, but yet you slow pay your vendors. So it's like, okay, so you cry the first person when an agent doesn't pay you.
Hold on. Guys, turn this up and listen closely. Please continue.
Yep. So they're the first ones to cry and complain when an agent doesn't pay their invoice, but yet they're also the last ones to pay their invoice for editors. So I'm experiencing that right now in the video editor sector, which I guarantee you it's the same way with the photo edits. You're so quick to complain when this agent doesn't pay, but yet you're not paying fast either. So like, I don't think it's 1 for 1. Okay. So there's that. And then they're sending samples of all the most elite videographers. They'll send my samples, Eric's samples. They'll send Australians samples. And I'm just like, great. But do you shoot like that? 90% of them, when they send me this like lavish, amazing listing video from Claudio Rivera or Eric Davidson, and I'm like, I learned a lesson. Show me what you do, because I don't care what they do. I know what they do, but do you do what they do? And when you send me your stuff and it's like, yeah, dude, no, like you're not even shooting like that. Your stuff is on auto on your iPhone, which I do know there's a handful of really talented videographers who know how to shoot with an iPhone. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not that guy, right? I'm a bougie filmmaker. I just wouldn't do good stuff on an iPhone. But I do know a handful of guys that do amazing content with an iPhone. So I won't knock it, but you still need fundamentals, right? You still need good white balance.
But focus on
Exposure.
the things that the shit videographers do.
Yep. So those are things that like right out of the gate, like so many times.
They don't get their invoices. They don't know how to shoot, but they want the best results.
Yep. And then they'll send you 500 files, 500 gigs, and say, we want it back tomorrow. Or even then, when you know they're going to say that, and I'm sitting in my sauna having a phone conversation with a team, and I'm like, I don't want the edit. No. I don't want the edit. Don't have the bandwidth. Don't have the capacity. Don't want no part in this edit. All right. Tell you what. I'd love to pay $1,000 for this edit. I just don't want it to miss. Okay, great. So I'm in at that now. You got my ears perked. $1,000 for an edit. I don't charge $1,000 for an edit, but I told you I don't want the project. I don't want to do the edit. I want nothing to do with the project because
if you're going to be going through 500 different clips and files, that's going to be several hours worth of editing just to get the footage cold. So it's going to cost you $1,000 because that's manpower.
To be fair,
because you shot the thing wrong and you overshot like a complete amateur, and you're going to pay for it on the back end.
To be fair, it's still not $1,000 edit, but if you offered me $1,000, I'd kindly take it. You pretty much convinced me to do something. It's in life. There's always a number you can convince somebody to do something for, right?
Yeah.
Money is a motivator. You motivated me with money. Okay, I'm a player. Guess what? When it comes down to paying the invoice, I didn't really know I was going to pay $1,000. I'm like, okay. Do I have to have signed contracts for every time we send a proposal to a client for an edit? Like, I didn't realize this is what it's going to be. So when I tell you that videographers are probably the worst, they try to weasel you. They try to negotiate. Like, hey, what if I give you 3 files? Can you do it for less? I'm like, dude, I type your name in the photography Facebook group and you pop up where an agent tried that shit to you 2 years ago and you were pissed. Like, here you are doing it to me. Like, what? Like, no, dude, like, it's a numbers game, right? If I'm negotiating with you, it's taking time away from all these other paying clients. Like, I don't offer volume discounts. I offer service quality. You're going to get a world-class product with great customer service. If that is not valuable to you, then find somebody that does it cheaper. I know 3 overseas editors that do edits cheaper. You're just not going to get the service from them like you would from me. So if it's about price, go somewhere else because there are far other people cheaper. Which I tell people all the time, your photos, you're not the cheapest.
So with either of these business models, you're going to have to solve the people issue.
Sometimes there's no solving it because people are people. There's no fixing people. You know, in time, they will learn on their own. But process are process, but there's just, you can't fix people. No matter what process you have, there's just no fixing people. I think both my business partner and I have agreed. There's some clients that are a dream to work with. Others are, well, let's just face it, it's a little bit of a pain, you know?
They're pain, yes.
But you own your own agency. You understand 100 clients that you have. How many of them are a pain in the ass? How many of them are easy?
Dude, I've always thought about doing a parody rap song. I got 99 clients, but a bitch ain't one. I've been in the business for over 10 years. I got in the habit a while ago of giving my people a come to Jesus moment kind of thing where I say, hey, listen, we need to sit down and have an onboarding session. Oh, I've been working with you for years. Yeah, you don't act like it. No offense. So maybe it's time for us to move on. As maybe some of my clients are listening to this podcast, and I've had this conversation with you, and we had to restart our relationship with certain new understandings. But I don't work with anyone any longer that wastes my time or contacts me out of business hours. So I've gone through the systems and the struggles that you've go through, and I went through it in 2020 and 2021 when the pandemic was starting out, and that's when I decided I've got to scale my business. That's when I hired on staff and decided to master scaling and delegating. Even though take a big pride in my work, I recognize that if I want to do this for life and be happy with it and be a good dad, which is what I wanted to be, my kid's 18 months old, or 19 months old now. And I make sure I don't work weekends, and I have 4 hours in the evening every day completely dedicated to my kid. And I sustain my business. In fact, not only have I tried real estate media, I've relaunched Real Estate Photography Masterclass and launched Real Estate Media Hero, which most people thought couldn't be done. And not only have we done it, we've done it at an incredible level. All of this comes down to mastering scaling and delegating. Now, you should know how to do this. I imagine...
To be honest with you, I've taken the scaling, the delegation on the editing agency because I still have that large profit share at 100% over here at PTS. When it comes down to Lux edits, I took a smaller portion to be able to bring in players to be able to speedline quality control, customer service, because at some point I want this to be a more hands-off thing. I sit back, I stare at my monitors, I can see what's going on, right? The pressure to perform isn't as high when I'm looking at the edit side, because if this business were to dry up tomorrow, I don't need that business. I don't need that money. So it's far less risk staffing it with a bunch of people and taking a piece of the pie. Where right now I got the whole pie. I got the pepperoni and the cheese.
Yeah, I get it.
Crust on the other side.
Yeah, I don't give any of my equity away either. So I get that. My challenge to you though is like, you don't have to give up a single thing, man. You can do it. Like, you're smart, you're motivated.
Yep.
Like, you're really smart. I think the only thing that's getting in the way is, I think deep inside you don't want to. Like,
say that again?
I think deep inside you don't want to give it up. Like, you've worked hard at this, you're proud of it. Like, it's your thing and nobody else could do it better.
I think that's what every videographer, photographer says. Like, we all, like, in this sector, it's wild, but I think like everybody feels the same. Like, we're all the best. We all have, we all are like doing the best. Nobody can do it better. But like, I'll be honest with you, like, it's all charades, because a monkey can do these photos. The video is very, it's very one-sided, but at the end of the day, I've never grown a business from zero to something. So the only pride I have is watching what I did not have in 2018. In 2018, it was a joke, like 1-2 clients here. 2019, and it's a humbling experience, but I log into the payroll system and I go back to 2019 and I just sit back and I look at 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and I watch that scale go up, 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 up.
Yeah.
To sell my business today and cash out, what if in 5 years from now, I had 11 guys working for me, 13 guys working for me, and we're doing $2.5 million a year? It's like stock. I gave up too soon, because if I would have bought Apple stock back 15 years ago, or Bitcoin 2020, think about it. What's it worth now? Am I willing to throw my profit shares away?
My thing is though, dude, like, you don't have to give up any profit.
Yep.
In fact, I would say in order to get to that, $1.5 million valuation you're talking about, you have to scale it. Like, how many employees and shooters do you have underneath you?
2.
So just keep, and have they been in pain, or have they been really good hires?
One was a pain from the very beginning, and he thought he was going to get fired dozens of times. I said, hey, yeah, as long as you don't steal, you're not getting fired, because here's the reality is making mistakes is learning.
But he's good now.
Yep. And you'll learn to make that mistake less or never again.
So at this point, like, you need an office. Like if you hire an office, like you're this close. You're this close to coming out on the other side, to like coming out of the eye of a hurricane and just being in sunshine and glory, man. Like, but I don't know what's holding you back. Like, you should hire an office staff or virtual assistant like tomorrow. Like, and you know this.
That. I think I'm
like
that.
Like, you know this though, but like, and it would change your life. And then I think your obsession just needs to be, okay, at this point, how can I automate everything? Because if you've hired and done all of these things, man, you could, and then you can open up, not only continue to dominate your local market and do it 6 hours a day, you could open up other locations. And if you have a problem with somebody, you can go into competition directly, remotely, without even having to do it yourself. You can hire an intern that has more talent than them and knock them out of the market, man. Like, I may or may not be doing that myself. So, my only question is, like, clearly, like, everything you do turns to gold. You're very smart. You're very talented. You're very capable. The only thing that hasn't done you this, the only reason you haven't done this is because, I think deep inside you don't want to do it. You want to hold on to it for just a little bit longer, which ironically is the same place I was, 5 years ago in 2020, 2021. For me, I knew that I wanted to do that and hold on to it just so that I learned the craft as best as I possibly could. But there comes to a point where you're there, and it sounds like you've been there for a while, where you realize, like, no, I understand this from the beginning to end, inside and out. I get this. I know what the real estate agents are thinking. I know what the sellers are thinking. I know what kind of processes we need to have from photo and video. I know why they want me. It's not because of my photos. It's because of my customer service and my speed, and because they know that I can be there and do it. Sorry if my camera's overheating here. We've been going for almost 2 hours. You know this. You know that you need an office staff. Like, why haven't you done this? You don't even need to hear me say it. Like, why haven't you done it yet?
Like I said, I think it just came down to money. I looked at it from a position of nonprofit generator for first profit generator. And then for the longest time, it was never an issue, right? Like, I had complete control, where when you shoot a house, you catch things that a non-shooter of the home wouldn't have caught, right? Like, they would have to learn how to shoot, because it's common when an editor edits your photos, but the color green on the center island wasn't green, it's baby blue. Well, no, it's supposed to be teal, or it's supposed to be green, right? Or maybe the door pull handles are also the color of the cabinet. Well, they didn't make that silver. Maybe towards the legs, somehow something turned black and white. Well, I don't know their technique on the photo edit side, so like, it shouldn't have been black and white. So there's small little things like that has always prohibited me. And I'm like, man, if I'm going to spend money, I want to make sure that, like, I'm the one in control driving the ship, because if it's going to get done right, I'm in charge to make sure it's done right. And I'm also a workaholic, where I love work, because I went from working 80 hours a week to having my own business. And maybe I'm just spoiled, because now I'm like, damn, like, this is what life is about. But now I'm trying to get my health under control, right? Trying to train harder, trying to eat better, trying to have less stress. This watch tells me how much stress I'm enduring, right? How many hours a week I'm sleeping. There's no cost or money that you can put on your health. I can tell how many miles a week I run consistently when I have less stress. When your phone is blowing up and you're too busy, and I'm getting ready to go for a run, and I got 15 text messages on BS that shouldn't even be happening, and now I got to put that fire out. The last thing I'm thinking about at 7:45 at night is that run.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, but like I said, coming into 2025, we're now going into March of 2025. My goal was to staff it with somebody. I'm so picky with the right person. And there are some people that I've really had my eyes on who would be running the business, at least the behind the scenes. Like I had open phone. I actually set it up 2 years ago for open phone, and I just never used it. But I'm thinking of going back to the open phone route, or just hand them another iPhone and say, here's an iPhone, just run it.
Yeah, that's a good option, but I like Google Voice as well. They all have pros and cons. The big thing when you talk about especially is you said you have a kid, you have several kids. How
Yep.
old is your oldest?
So my oldest is 10.
Okay. So, hey, here's the beautiful thing about this. Like, so when I was working in the car business, we had a finance manager who came in one day and quit. And we asked him, the whole management, the floor managers thought we were joking. Like, this is one of the best guys we have. This is like a for lifer, is what they called him. And everyone thought he was joking. He was just making a joke. Until he cleared out his desk and brought the box to the front desk of the general manager's station and said, I quit, I'm out. And the reason why he was quitting was because his daughter had just started her freshman year of college, and he had missed her entire childhood.
See, he waited until she went to college to figure that out.
Yeah. The good thing is for you, man.
I can't buy back time.
Right. Your oldest is 10. Fuck the Rolexes.
Yep.
Fuck them. Your kid's more important.
Yep.
Like the pride, whatever else it might be, and there's nothing wrong with a bit of pride in your work. There's nothing wrong with that. But you understand and admit it yourself that your family is most more important. And you recognize, too, this is an excellent measure of ability. When you're putting your body under regular stress and then can measure it and your performance based off of what's going on in your life, you know that shit's affecting you.
Yeah. And, you asked earlier, you said, tell them who I was, what I do. So I'm a long distance runner. I've always been a runner. 2020, I was what I thought was my best shape of my body ever. Then 2021, I kind of was dipping down. 2022.
Oh, the COVID didn't help.
Yep. 2023, going down. 2024, I got back to like almost 193 pounds. Then mid 2024, I started losing weight. Coming into or end in 2024, like October of 2024, I got down to 137 pounds, started really getting my training, dialing it in. Now I'm 147 pounds, really, really fast runner. And the goal here for me is health, right? So, we have an amazing business. We have an amazing craft. I don't necessarily think I'm going to learn anything else in this business, right? You can't teach me how to shoot photos better. You can't get me any faster, because any faster is like me not even walking into the house. Like average photo time, I'm 2 to 3 minutes on a house just to do photos. Video, quite frankly, you can't teach me something new unless there's completely something new that comes out, which I don't know what the next step is. Maybe something AI. I think then the next wave of whatever's coming is going to be something AI related. But again, you can't teach me something new. But again, if something new comes out, I'll be back in it, learning it like a video game, mastering that shit until I'm level 99. Whatever it takes, I'll be there, day or night, lose all the sleep. But I'll get it. But at the end of the day, it's like we have, and I see a lot of really, really talented agency owners, right? Like, great, dude, you make a ton of money, but you let your health fall apart. You're overweight, or you don't take time for yourself, right? Like taking time for your family is great, but what about yourself? Because if you don't find at least 1 to 2 hours a day for fitness, the 4 hours you may be spending with your son or your daughter every day, you won't make it 5 years from now, right? You have a heart attack or a stroke, you are zero help to your family. So providing great nutrition, finding yourself working out, whether it's working out, running, walking, cardio of some such. It's important. And that's where my mind was at. Like, I was sick of being a slave to this business. Like, literally, I am a slave to this industry, just working, sleeping, working, sleeping. Even if you find time with your family, like, you don't feel good. Now I feel amazing. I have clarity. I have control. I'd feel a lot better not answering calls or not answering text messages. The learning curve will be there. Like, I'm going to have to figure out, like, am I going to have to still intercept all these calls with my assistant to tell me all the third party information from an agent that now has to get relayed to me? It's like, man,
Yeah.
some of that's like, I wish they just contacted me directly, because now I'm paying somebody to relay this information to me, you know? But it's a learning curve that I'm going to incur. But also, like you did say, letting go. Maybe I'm having that control issue where, like, you just don't want to let go, but I'm sure in the very moment, it's like jumping out of an airplane with no parachute. May seem pretty scary until you pull the chute and you're coasting down and you see the view and you're like, damn, why didn't I jump sooner? Why didn't I pull that chute? Because this view is amazing.
That's exactly what it's going to be like. And here's the other thing you're going to discover. You're going to have more Rolexes, not less. I said fuck the Rolexes, not because you can't have them, but because they're not going to matter too much. Like, I could afford myself lots of Rolexes, lots of flashy cars. I'm talking luxury Porsches, Ferraris, whatever you want. I could make that. Or I could do the things that I do with my money that none of you guys' business is what I do with my money, because that's the way I prefer it. And then I use some of the money to, start huge software endeavors to help the entire industry.
I like it.
Yeah. And that's what you're doing with your editing thing, man. And the thing is too, once you start, here's the challenges you're going to face and you're going to solve in months, and it's going to add years to your life, and your family is going to hold you up as like the ideal father. And once they see you, like, wow, he did something I never thought, maybe, man, I don't want to sound too negative here, but I guarantee, there's someone, social group, there's like, yeah, he's never going to quit working. He's never going to put his family first. When you do it, they're going to eat their words, man. And your family is going to notice it, and they're going to be overwhelmed with joy and love and emotions. And you're going to have...
I would say this, the social media experts would probably be closer to a 70% accuracy if there wasn't already a new little project in the pipe, right? And what I mean by that new project is I'm currently helping real estate agents, and that was really rewarding. But now I got a new passion. It's helping real estate media professionals with something that nobody else has. Like, I'm competing against real estate agents who have 10, 20, 30 photographers DMing them, messaging them, emailing them, looking for their business. What I'm dealing with is an industry where I'm the only guy in the block that's offering US-based content delivery. Like, we have no overseas schmucks. We have everybody in-house. Everybody's US-based. 40% of my staff was videographers for real estate shooting. They started with me shooting, so they understand technique. They understand the shoot. They understand everything that they're going through. I understand the billing. I do moderate Dylan to understand the same thing. Like, when you talk to an overseas editor and you tell them something like, hey, this was messed up, like, I sent you a file, I didn't mean to send you the file, they're like, okay, pay me. We still do file edit. You pay me.
No. What they say is, yes, sir. Sorry, sir. And then they fix it and send you the exact same thing.
Well,
we've
we've had some files where we were 80% done with an edit, but somehow the client has already put that listing under contract and told the media professional that they didn't need the video anymore. Whatever that media professional is going to end up doing, whether they zero out the invoice or not, I'm going to zero my invoice. You're good. We don't have to deliver this. Dylan, kill the file. It won't be an time deal, but I understand there's things that are outside of our reach. I want to make sure that we understand as what the struggles you're shooting. Like, I'm a media agency owner myself, so like I understand the struggles that you're going through. So I want to understand that you're not hiring my company and we don't relate. Like, I relate to your struggles, so I want to be there with you side by side on those trenches. So hopefully I can teach you, train you to get better. But if your pricing is too cheap and you can't afford us, then let's talk about it. Like, let's have a call and let me go over your market, because I think the reason your prices are so low is because your quality is bad and you can't justify the price. But if I go on to your market and I pull up 7 companies and they all charge $300 to $400 and you can't justify $75, then that's a you problem.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah.
You can't not afford $75. What you can't not afford is to pay me $75, because the agents want this style. So by not paying me, they're going to end up getting frustrated, because they're going to see Instagram and Facebook and all these reels that look all trendy. And guess what? Right now, nobody else might be doing it in your market, but the second somebody does is the way you're going to lose that client. And it first starts with video. And they realize, well, damn, they do photos too. Well, maybe I just combined it all with one person instead of hiring 2. And now you lost your photo client because you lost the video client. So the 70% rule is, they probably would be right that I would not give up control to gain my family back if I didn't already have my focus on my new company. I want to take more of a hands-on approach where I'm going to delegate all activities from Pictures That Sell, and take a more of an executive role, backing off, because at the end of the day, the company runs so well on its own. I don't need to be in it. I don't need to be knee deep in it. The frustrations I'm having is because I'm burnt out, right? You kept the steak on the oven for too long. That's the reason why, right?
Yeah, you're crispy.
Yep. Those people have been doing the same goddamn stuff for the last 5-6 years. I'm just so over it, because my passion has moved away from the real estate sector, and it's now in the real estate videography sector. So what is that? 7 years? 2018?
Yep. You're right, at the 7 years.
So what I'm looking to do is, a vacation isn't going to solve my problem. I go on vacation, I come back nice and rested. It's not going to solve my problem, because people are people. There's still going to be people. Mm-hmm. But having somebody man these phone calls, and what's really nice is, if they don't get a response, it's because they're out, right? I'm not paying them to be 24 around the clock. Mm-hmm. So I will definitely take your advice on it. But my drive and passion right now is to really elevate our real estate media professionals with something that nobody else has to offer. There's a lot of really talented video editors in our industry, but a lot of those guys don't have the bandwidth to edit, right? They only have the time to edit their own stuff. They're doing so well. They're blowing up and flourishing. And even those that are even doing extremely well have made comments and reached out and said, hey, I know what's going to happen this summer. We're slow right now, but come summertime, we're going to be too busy. I need to offload at least like 60% of our edits, because otherwise I can't grow my business and edit the content.
Hey, out of curiosity, is your market slow as well?
No.
Okay.
I think the only time we slowed down is when we had hurricanes in October. There was like that 2-week window where we got hit with one hurricane, and then like 2 weeks later, we got hit with another hurricane, and we were like, there was news reports talking about a third hurricane coming, but I don't really know if it was ever valid. I don't know if that was like satire media running amok, just scaring us to say there was another hurricane. Because at one point, I was like,
are you hearing a lot that the market is slow? Or was that you just creating an example?
No. In Florida, we have not seen any slowdown. Now, there's a lot of inventory on the market. And the conversation has always been, people wanted to wait until March to list their homes, whether you're a supporter or not. But I will tell you, this is what I've heard since January. Everybody wanted to wait until March because they want to see what Donald Trump was doing. The reality is the interest rates are not going any lower than what they are right now. And even if they are going to go down, they won't go back to anything worth bragging about. So you might as well put your house on the market, because an average time on market right now is 191 days to 164 days. So what you don't want to do is wait until summertime to list your house with that type of time frame, because then you're going into a time of year that isn't very desirable, which is our fall winter months, right? Inventory doesn't move fast in fall and winter. So you might as well put it on the market now. Some are waiting until springtime because they want grass green, they want plants, they want flowers. Currently, right now, a lot of people's shrubs and plants and grass is dead. We can Photoshop all that, but again, in videos, it doesn't look very good. I do also own Media 631, which is in the Hamptons as well. I have a business partner in the Hamptons. So I do media out there, just shooting video. A lot of the clients that I work with out in the Hamptons will not spend money on video right now because it's snow on the ground or dead. And again, depending upon your market, those videos out there in the Hamptons, I charge $3,000 for. Nobody really wants to drop $3,000 for a video when they know average time on market's 8 months. Guess what happens? June, July comes around. They're going to be like, why didn't we do a video then? Because the house is still on market. So you just drop $3,000 in, early winter to then turn around and have to hire me to come back again, spring or early summer, to reshoot it. Not a good look on budget. So, again, I have seen an influx in business taken off in Florida, like on insane numbers. Like right now we're up 32% in volume. I'm up 32% in volume. However, I'm behind about 22% in profit.
Interesting.
Profit per sale. Just meaning.
Okay. Profit per sale. Okay, got it.
Like that, just because there's less people spending higher dollar amounts. Like a lot of people are just looking floor plan drone, not as many video sales. And a lot of that is because a lot of the houses coming to market are not very nice properties. These are just your lived in, not staged. Honestly, if somebody were to book video, I'd be the first person to say, hey, don't do video here because you're wasting your money. Like this it wouldn't be a video worthy property. And what people do envy about me is I'm honest. I won't take your money knowing that the end result would not be a polished product. Like, don't look at my Instagram page and say, wow, I love that video, because this house is not that, right? This is a 3-2, 1,650 square feet. You need all new floors. You need all new lighting. You need all new cabinetry. You need all new paint. Let's not even talk about the fact that the core here is like somebody lived here but hasn't cleaned the house in 7 months. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Right, man.
I don't live in an amazing market, but the reality is like any market you're in, you can make a decent living. Like, I don't have to be in a market where every house is a panty dropper and has the best video, because the reality is that house that I just made $400 on, I literally walked in 10 minutes and made $400. Like,
yeah.
Can I do 10 more of those today? Because you do 10 of those, I go home. All I have to do is drag and drop into folders, upload, deliver. The following morning, it's good. When you start doing video, like, you're now having to send that to editors. You're having to do it. Like, yeah, the invoice is bigger, but it also comes with a list more of issues. Like, then you're dealing with whether the client likes the song or if there's revisions, or also we have an extended delivery time on video at 48 hours. Nothing's 24 hours with video. It's all 48 hours. So, it's always like, then you're having to go back in and re-deliver video. It's just one more additional step. It may sound negative, but again, it's just business. Like, I've come to a point where I get paid well just shooting photos, and I do so much of it and so fast. Like, doing video takes me 35 minutes. That's 2 more houses I could have done in that 35-minute window.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it wasn't always like this. When I first started, like, I got so excited to do video. Like, I was like, man, this is great, amazing. But now it's just about time and efficiency. It's time per listing. It's the hours. It's the minutes. It's the seconds. Like, everything matters. If all you look at is which there's a couple shooters that are losing money by doing video. when I asked them, hey, how much do you charge? And they're like $350 for video. I'm like, great. How many hours does it take you to shoot that? And they're like, anywhere between 1 to 2.5 hours. I'm like, great. Okay. How long did it take you to edit it? And they're like, well, depends, but normally about under an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I'm like, great. So do the math. You just lost money. Because when you look at what you made on your photos and then you look at the time you put in to do the video and the time that you made, like that time could have went somewhere else. You know what I mean?
You might as well just do only photos. And they might as well just do photos and shoot more houses.
Right, because now they're not available because they're using a booking platform that knows that it takes them 3 hours to do video. So now they can only do 2 listings a day because that's all the time that they're willing to allow, because photos take them an hour, video takes them 3, that's 4 hours. Well, guess what? Right now we're in daylight savings times. So you're at an 8-hour window where you can only shoot, 2 houses a day. Well, guess what? You got clients that are trying to book with you. And if you're not available, like you said, they will find somebody else who is available. And if they like somebody better because they dress better or they talk better or they're nicer, or maybe they found out that you gave them a free floor plan because Kubicasa offers free floor plans. Now you're like, man, I've been paying floor plans from this guy. Kubicasa gives it to me for free with this guy. You might have just lost one of your most loyal people over something that they weren't even looking for a new content creator. They were just looking for somebody who was available and you weren't available. So at the end of the day, that's where it is, man.
Let me ask you a question. We were really focused on the scaling so you can get more time with your family and stuff. If you do scale and automate your main real estate media business, what's to stop you from starting something else? Like, it seems like that's exactly what you'll do.
I would, but it's like any business. You must do it in moderation, because before I even take on absolutely anything else, the editing agency must be at its peak. It must be on auto drive where it's like literally slaying. It needs to be doing 80 grand a month. Because if it's not, then I haven't even hit my potential yet. There's so much untapped potential there that I'm drilling for oil right now. And the only way I'm going to slow down is when I hit a depth that has no more oil coming out. When I hit that point, I'm like, okay, now I've hit my limit. Now which by the way, I'm pretty much hands off right now, right? Like I'm almost 100% hands off in the editing agency.
Okay, in the editing, but not your,
not PTS. But I'm almost 100% hands off on the editing agency.
Why don't you do a similar thing with PTS?
That's what I'm doing. So I'm pivoting back in to pull out from PTS so I can shift my time, because at the end of the day, it's a time thing, right? So we have 10 hours to 8 hours a day that we're going to dedicate to a business. And I know that there's a lot of podcasts out there that talk about Elon Musk and all the world's greatest business owners that spent, 20 hours a day building their business. Maybe I take a little step in and over embellish, but I won't do that because of what you said with your guy in the car business. At what point do you realize that I already have an amazing business? What the hell am I? I'm not an entrepreneur. Like, I'm not trying to build 20 different businesses. You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm literally digging myself out of one hole to say, yes, I got this business on autopilot. For what? For me to freaking put my foot back in a goddamn another trap where it eats all my time again?
There we go. Now we're talking.
Yeah, I'm like, what am I doing here? I just got out of a trap and I just put myself in another damn bear trap. I'm like, well, what happens when I get this one fully automated? I'm going to go find myself a smoothie shop so I can go sit around there for 20 hours a day to sell smoothies. Like, at some point, you have to know your limits. And I think all the greatest billionaires don't know when to get out. Like, they have look at Amazon. Amazon he could retire today and never work another day in his life. He would never spend all the money he has.
Well, I think he did retire, and then he also found a hobby with his house cleaner, and then lost half his money, and then now he's still retired and still has plenty of money. But I want to stop here just
Yep.
because you're arriving in a good spot where you're saying like, yeah, like you said, I don't want to realize that, I've missed my kids' entire childhood when they're leaving for college. Like, so you've got a kid that's 10 years old. You've still got their best years at home ahead of you. So you can solve this and get this, figured out before a busy season even gets here. And you can test run it this whole season. And then by slow season comes, this Thanksgiving and Christmas is going to be one of the best Thanksgiving and Christmas your family could ever have.
Correct.
And here's the beautiful thing. One thing that I live by, that little meme with the Asian girl who's like, why not both?
Yes.
And usually she's holding two guns. I'm always one who says, why not have the Rolex and the family time? So just automate your business how you can do it. Hire the assistants, whether they're domestic or virtual, whatever, however you want to do it your way. But it's time, man. Like, because otherwise you're going to get to that point. You were talking about other people who get so burnt out, they get toasted. Like, have you ever seen those horrible graphic images of people who get electrical burn, and it didn't burn their skin, it burned their flesh right off the bone, man. There is no flesh to heal. It's gone. That's what burnout can do to people. So, I can go into a whole thing on burnout, but in short, anything, like when you get that text message when you're at your father-daughter dance, and there's a neuron that fires in your brain that's negative, and it's just like, anything in your business that causes that, if it's a specific client name that comes up on your phone, you need to get rid of that client, or make sure that someone else in that business is taking care of that client. Any negative impulse that happens in your nervous system, whether it be your peripheral nervous system or your central nervous system, needs to be completely done away with and automated or delegated to. And you also want to try to go easy on your staff, because if it's bothering you, it's probably going to bother them. We all have a limit that we can handle, amount of poison we can swallow without it getting into our veins. You got to figure out how much that is for you and keep yourself below that threshold. And you got to make sure you watch out for your employees as well. Otherwise, you're going to be churning and burning through assistants and photographers, as you know. Like, I'm saying stuff that you already know. I'm just sharing it to the audience, right? But at this point, I need to go because I got to plan another big podcast coming up with Cuba Casa. We're having 4 representatives now from Cuba Casa coming on, and we're going to talk all about their interaction with the industry, answer a lot of you guys' important questions.
Let me give you something from me. Take this to them from me.
Okay, what's your question?
No question. Statement.
Yes.
So my biggest problem that I have right now with Cuba Casa is their pricing has changed way too much. Since I've been using their product, it is like a yo-yo. Mm. So you come to me and you tell me to offer my service for free, but then you're going to then bill me when the service is over 3,000 square feet. But if I were to market that on my website that it's free until it's over 3,000, I get disqualified from your preferred photographer list, because you're now going to bill me for any floor plan over 3,000 square feet. I also have a handful, when I say handful, like a big pile of clients who just do photos only. That's it. Photos only. Mm-hmm. So if Cuba Casa's mindset was to do a package where it's photos and floor plan combined, you take what you normally charge plus your photo and you combine the two together and you offer it as a position of value, that's only helpful until the client says, but I don't want a floor plan. Well, now we're in a problem, because if somebody's price shopping you and they go to your website and they see that your photos are now $299, $399, $499, because you built in your price of your floor plan, that's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. I also don't know what company tells me how I'm going to do my business, right? So I don't like a company who comes to me and says, but you need to do this. You need to give this product away for free, but then you're going to come behind me and club me upside my head the moment I do a 3,000 plus square foot and you're going to charge me. So you want to charge me, but I can't charge my client unless I automatically build it into my price. That's a problem. And I don't allow any company to tell me how I'm going to give away a product for free, because now my competitors are doing it for free, which is now hurting my bottom line because I either got to get on board or I'm losing clients to this schmuck who's giving the service away for free, because Kubicasa told them you have to do it for free in order for you to qualify. All I keep telling everybody is, what the hell you doing? You know, what, so you can get a little discount on the 3D services? You know, in a year's time, I might do 10 of those 3D services. But in a year's time, I may have gave away 50 grand in floor plans to what? Make up a couple $100 in discounts or a faster render time, which, by the way, you should have already been having us done in the first place, which, by the way, I don't even know what data they're getting from this floor plan, which I heard at one point there was data being received and archived from all these floor plans. Don't know how much truth that is in there. I don't really get hung up into it until somebody tells me how to do my business. But the biggest problem I have is you still charge for floor plans greater than 3,000 square feet.
Yeah. So we're going to ask all about that. So I'm writing an outline, questions that I want to ask them now. And the big ones that we're going to ask are, first of all, what's up with your pricing model? Is the data rumors true? If so, what do you share?
Okay, so you did hear the data rumors.
Yeah. Well, I was posting actually in some of the Facebook groups, and would you believe it, asking questions and trying to collaborate with the community on saying, hey, what questions you wanted me to ask Kubicasa got taken down to self-promotion. So now I've got to, I guess, make my own Facebook group just so I can speak as another photographer with the photographers, because Facebook admins don't know what they're doing. But anyway, man, this has been a really good podcast. Yep. I hope if you guys have made it all the way to the end, can you guys leave a comment and a like down below, because I think you guys got years worth of value in just the last 2 hours. And man, how many of us are in this position or have been in this position before? I will tell you this, guys, this predicament where you know what you're doing and you get to a certain level, but then you just let stuff get in your veins, because let's be real, customers and people can be incredibly shitty to deal with. And one thing I've realized too is, man, videographers and photographers can be difficult to deal with. We're not all that much better, and possibly we're even worse. Just because I've been working with Real Estate Photography Masterclass and Real Estate Media Hero. We have great clients. We have some great customers. But man, some of you guys, woo! So, man, real podcast. Probably one of the best ones we've had so far, man. At least I feel that way. So thank you for being so honest and real, man. I really appreciate you having you on, man. I can go ahead and sign us out. And anything you else want to say?
No, sir. I appreciate the opportunity of being able to speak.
All right. Thank you, guys, everybody. See you on the next episode.